World War I was not a very clean war, with new technology made to kill more people, such as poison gas, tanks, and flamethrowers. And in World War II, flamethrowers on tanks. Many of the nations in World War I used many methods and strategies to kill as many people as possible. Some of these are worse than others, so let's get right into it. The British used their superior navy to their advantage and sunk many German ships. One of these was the submarine U-27, sunk by the British Q-ship HMS Barralong, killing all Germans on board. The Serafen massacre happened in the Middle East as Britain was making their move on the Ottoman Empire. The massacre happened in the small town of Serafen al-Amar in Ottoman-controlled Palestine. Commonwealth soldiers from Australia, New Zealand, and some Scottish were tired of frequent robbings and murders from local Arabs. Although, on December 9th, a New Zealand soldier was killed and robbed. When the Stationary New Zealand Division heard about this, they demanded the thief would be handed over to them. When the village denied any involvement in the murder, the New Zealand Division killed 40 to 137 innocent civilians in the village. There is no doubt that the Serafen massacre was not justified, but it is debatable if the British naval blockade of Germany was. The British, with their superior navy, decided to block trade to Germany through the North Sea. This meant that Germany was practically embargoed by everyone and could not import materials, including basic food for the citizens. The British hoped that this would demoralize the German population and they would sue for peace earlier. It's unsure whether this had an effect on when Germany would surrender, but what it did do was kill 763,000 Germans. One thing you have to know about the First World War is that the war sparked after the Archduke of Austria-Hungary, Franz Ferdinand, was assassinated by a Serb in Sarajevo. So, when Austria-Hungary occupied parts of Serbia, they wanted to punish the whole nation for the assassination. The Austro-Hungarian army committed many war crimes, such as mass murder and taking hostages. Around 3,500 to 4,000 Serbians were killed during this time. Many Serbs were displaced and forced out of their homes during this occupation. There were also internment camps the Serbs were sent to, the largest being one near the city of Doboj, where 45,971 Serbs were imprisoned and mistreated. Even though the Austro-Hungarians hated the Serbians, the only people who hated them more were the Bulgarians. The Bulgarians despised the Serbs because of their recent defeat in the Second Balkan War. After the Bulgarians joined the Central Powers, Tsar Ferdinand stated, "The purpose of my life is the destruction of Serbia." The Bulgarians gave the Serbians two choices: accept Bulgarization or be killed. The Bulgarians also executed innocent teachers, religious workers, functionaries, and intellects. The rest of the things the Bulgarians did were so bad, most of the things I cannot even say here. Well, here it is, what you all have been waiting for. The infamous Poland-killing, beer-loving, industry-making, notorious Germans. Where do we even begin? Well, first they started with bombarding a bunch of huge towns, such as Scarborough, Hartlepool, West Hartlepool, and Whitby, killing 137 people and injuring another 592. And, of course, if you're talking about Germany, you have to talk about the complete destruction of Poland. More specifically, a town named Kalisz. This town did not enjoy German occupation and sabotaged them in every way possible, which led the Germans to burn down the town. Only churches and office buildings remained. However, this incident was just a town, but a whole nation would get flattened due to Germany's antics. During the war, Germany initiated the Schlieffen Plan, which basically stated if Germany got into a war with France, instead of taking France head-on, go through Belgium, which is what Germany would do. Germany marched through Belgium without any consideration for the Belgian people, killing thousands of people and destroying thousands of buildings. Most notable is the University Hall in Leuven. Germany also sent thousands of refugees westward to slow the French down, which worked for a little bit until, trench warfare. There's so much more to talk about, including the unrestricted submarine warfare Germany performed, and the many other war crimes they committed. But I simply just don't have enough time to talk about them all. The Ottomans performed one of the most infamous war crimes of the entire war. If you don't know what I'm talking about the Armenian Genocide. When the Ottomans joined the war, they had to fight Russia in the mountains, and their attacks initially failed. This angered the Ottomans, and many blamed the ethnic Armenians in the area. Thousands of Armenians were deported from their homes, but worst of all, around 1.5 million Armenians were killed. That's more people than a lot of U.S. states. This is one of the most disgusting and horrible war crimes ever committed, and there's truly no recovery from this event, even today. And the Armenians were not the only people the Ottomans would genocide. They would also kill many Greeks, Syrians, Kurds, and Jews with Russian citizenship living in Palestine. The Russians, despite losing the war and then having a revolution right after, were not so innocent. They did some pretty bad things such as ethnic cleansing, where they massacred Jews and Germans. When Russia briefly occupied a part of Germany called East Prussia, they forcibly deported many Germans westward. Even though many nations committed many individual war crimes, most nations committed many of the same, such as the use of chemical weapons and gas attacks. Overall, World War I was a war that would reshape the world as we know it. This war would also establish the Geneva Protocol, enforcing the Geneva Convention. Luckily, after this war, everyone learned their lesson, and we never had such a terrible war again. Right, guys? Oh, wait a minute.